Welcome to Between Two Stops, your ultimate podcast for diving into the latest trends and topics in the pool service industry, bringing you insightful conversations with the best and brightest industry experts, inspiring stories from successful business owners, and educational insights to enhance your skills and knowledge. Buckle up. Between Two Stops by Skimmer starts now.
Welcome to Between Two Stops. I'm your hostess, Nikki Acosta, and we have a really awesome guest with us today, Eric Fotenberry from JobTread, the CEO himself. Say hi, Eric.
How's it going? Appreciate you having me on, Nikki.
It's really great to have you on. I was thinking about our podcast guest lists and thinking about all of the companies that we interact with and people who have neat technologies or neat platforms, and you were one of the first that came to mind. I was thinking like, yeah, we've got a lot of servicers who ask us all the time, do y'all have software for building? Two, are you going to build software for pool construction? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. Fortunately for you all, we say, hey, go check out JobTread.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And likewise, we got a lot of pool builders, but don't really do the service side of it. So that's where you guys have been a great person we can refer over. And you're from one of my favorite towns, Austin, Texas. So there we go. Keep it all in Texas, right?
We're both Texas based, which is also kind of cool. So I wanted to first ask you to tell your story about JobTread. I looked at some of your previous talks that you've delivered. One is as recent as your user conference that you just had. And it's kind of a cool story. And so for our listeners, I'd love for you to introduce JobTread and tell us the JobTread story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess it was back in 2018, a buddy of mine was running a construction company. He was just struggling to scale the business, paper-based processes, just kind of very chaotic, as I found is kind of the common norm for many construction businesses. But, he asked me to come over and help him, figure out how to scale the business. And so, I was like, sure, I'll come check it out. And, literally walk in the door and I see the chaos. I see it everywhere. I see papers walking in the door, people's timesheets going into folders, binders. They're printing off all the vendor bills coming in and waiting for the project manager to approve them whenever that was going to be. Like, it was just like a very chaotic process. And I told them, I was like, man, like, look, it's very simple. Like, you need some systems, some processes. Let's find you a construction software that will help sort of bring all of this together and help you get organized. And, that's at that point, I did a deep dive into, the construction management space and looked at all the softwares out there and made a big old list, kind of comparing all the features and the pros and the cons and the cost. And I just, at the end of the day, I struggled to make a recommendation for these guys. I felt like a lot of the software was either like, had been started, 10, 15, 20 years ago, was a little bit, archaic, it could be clunky, might've been hard to implement and customize for us, or it was super expensive. And so I was just really struggling. And the owners, they saw this and they're just like, well, Eric, you're a software guy. Can't you just build us something? And I was like, whoa, hold on. No. I'm not trying to like take on a full-time role here. And you guys certainly aren't qualified to take over and maintain some software. And, I got to thinking about it though. And I was just like, wow, like, this is such an enormous industry. And to see how it's lagging behind in technology as a whole, I really got to thinking a lot about it, talked to my wife, and I was just like, wow, I think this is that next opportunity for me. And ended up going back to the owners and said, look, I'm willing to do it, but here are my 3 conditions. 1, I take over as CEO. I give you 1 year of my time, and everything I build is my intellectual property, so that if this has the potential to become my next software company, then I've got that option after 1 year. And they agreed, made me partner, took over CEO, and we essentially just got to work. And I started by starting to shadow all of the employees and like understanding like what were their pain points, like where were they like spending time, that just they felt like was not the best use of their time, or it was stressing them out or frustrating them, or just a bunch of manual entries. Finding all those bottlenecks in the business and where things were breaking down really helped me to understand where I needed to focus. And so, I started with the estimating and building out a budget tool for the builders. And so, as I sort of suspected, because these guys, they were really struggling to hit their target profit margins on their jobs. I suspected that numbers were being sort of pulled out of thin air. There was not much documentation. And I was like, guys, put away your calculators, your pencils. Like, here's a budget tool. I need you to focus on figuring out what are all the costs that are going to go into this project. And from there, we can calculate the price automatically using markup or margin. I actually found that a lot of the guys were using a markup instead of a margin. We wanted to make 30% profit margin on every job, but they were marking it up 30%. So they were just adding to their cost, which if you had a 30% markup, that's only going to get you a 23% profit margin. So we were literally shooting ourselves in the foot right out of the gate, had no chance to earn that 30% profit on our jobs. And so, again, it all goes to show that like it was time to sort of put away all of our calculators and quit doing this manually. We needed a system, and we built out the budget tool within JobTread that could help them automatically calculate what the price should be. It forced them to now start focusing on the scope of work, what's going to go into this project. No more buddy, handshake deals, back of the envelope type stuff. Because when they hand off the project to the project manager, like, they need to understand what was included, what is in scope, and what is out of scope. We couldn't even use change orders because nobody knew what in the world they sold. And so like it was just a very, very stressful situation. Every single time we're sitting there like putting out fires, trying to deal with how are we going to scale this when we can't even have simple handoffs and we can't hit our target margins. And so having the system put in place was a really big benefit to us. We could do all the purchase orders and work orders and managing all of the cost in real time instead of waiting until after all the invoices have been sent out and paid. And then, 30, 45 days later, we get the bills and we're like, wait, we're way over budget. Well, you've lost all your leverage at that point. Like, you can't course correct if you're doing this out of order. And so that's where leveraging, real-time job costing was tremendously valuable for us. And then when you get to the back office and kind of the accounts payable, accounts receivable, I mean, we had over $800,000 of AR, of invoices that we never collected. We literally just kept taking the AR, collateralizing it, and borrowing $200,000 lines of credit one after the other, instead of focusing on collecting the hard-earned money that we had already earned. Like, this is like where I just found this huge disconnect between the back office and the field. I mean, the lady in the office, I mean, she was awesome. She sent out the invoices right when the field requested it. But like, she was so overwhelmed and busy with everything else that like she wasn't following up with those invoices in the field. She assumed that the field guys, the salespeople working with the client, they were going to be, following up and making sure we're getting paid. Well, they don't have any visibility into QuickBooks, and so like, they just assumed that she was following up. She was assuming they're following up, and we just dropped the balls one after another. And when I saw that, and I realized, again, there's a big opportunity to leverage software to put a holistic system in place that was going to help them, streamline this business, better manage all of their jobs, all the scheduling, all of the, the interactions, the communication. And so, long story short, we took that business that when I stepped in, they're doing about $5 million in sales. 1 year later, we grew it to $8 million in sales, and we increased their gross profit by 43%. We were able to hit our target profit margins, which goes to show when you put the right systems in place, you focus on the right KPIs, you can build a very successful, very, repeatable, scalable, profitable construction business. But like, you got to have the right systems and processes in place, as well as the right people. You got to have the right people in the right roles. And it was after that 1 year, that was in 2018. So 2019 is when I recruited some of my developers, designers from my last software company, and we started JobTread here in Dallas. 2019, built for a few years, started selling it in 2021. I think we got it to like, this is right after like COVID let up, and we got to start going out doing trade shows. We got it to about 200 companies that year. Next year we got to around 1,000. Last year we ended around 2,200. This year our goal is 4,000. We're already, I think, almost at 3,600 active customers. So it's very quickly grown on us. But I think at the end of the day, building JobTread out of a needs basis was what I believe kind of made one of the biggest impacts, because like, I truly understood the challenges that our customers are having. Like, I got to live it for a while so that I could see where things were breaking down. And at the end of the day, I think that's how we continue to develop this in partnership with our customers. And it's been a really exciting to see all the success that that these companies are able to have when they start to, get organized and have the right systems and processes and focus on the right things and build out their teams. And, at the end of the day, this isn't rocket science. It just kind of takes some of those key building blocks to set yourself up for success. And that's what we've been trying to help people do.
One thing I love about JobTread, and I've looked at it a few times, is how intuitive it is. Like coming in from, I have a background in home building, and at one point we even implemented SAP to build homes. Which SAP is a platform like if you're going to build a cell phone and you've got 60 different components that need to be delivered to a warehouse, and then you build this phone and then you ship it to a customer. It was not meant for home building. And so I remember sitting there to build a home, you had to type in code. It was CA 902 to start the configurator to build a home. Like how far we've come now with
Wow.
JobTread, where it's so clean and easy, and all the customer communication pieces are there, and you've got a vendor portal, and everything is really pretty to look at and very intuitive to use. That is something we try to do here at Skimmer as well, is just make it easy to use for the people who are actually using it. And I think y'all have done a really good job in doing that. So kudos to you and the team for making some really great intuitive software.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So one of the things you recently talked about was around just building great businesses. It is a focus of ours to help our customers build great businesses. We are not experts in telling someone how to, install some kind of automation panel for whatever kind of pool equipment they're using, or help our pros do that. But we do want to help on the business side. And so you recently gave a talk in which you shared a lot of your tips for building a great business. And so I'd like to just, if you're okay with it, go through some of these, because I think there's some real gold in here. One of the things that that stood out to me at one of your talks was that JobTread has saved marriages. And in order to make a product that is good enough to save a marriage, there's a lot of work that goes into that, and a lot of that is around people, around building the right team. So tell us a little bit about how you attract and retain good employees.
Yeah, it's something that I think at the end of the day, as the CEO, like your number one job is to build the best possible team that you can. As entrepreneurs, we all want to keep putting on all those hats, and we try to do it all. But you quickly realize as your business starts to take off that like you can't be great at everything. You can't wear every hat and do it great and make sure that you're not dropping balls. And so at the end of the day, like it is so important that you build a great team who shares that same passion, that same drive and motivation to come in every day and to just, do the absolute best that you can. We look for people that we don't have to micromanage. We're not, having people clock in and out every day. Like, when you build the right team, they're going to be able to continue, with the momentum of your company, and like eventually you'll know that you've created something great when like you can take a step back and the business keeps running, it keeps growing. Like fires naturally get put out because you've got great people put in place. And so in order to do that though, like I think you number one, you need to make sure that you hire people at the right time when you can financially afford it. And so to kind of even before you start looking to hire, like create an annual budget for yourself, for your company. Like, know what is your goal for the year? How much do you want to make? Divide that up, amongst, the 12 months of the year, and figure out, okay, so, in order to do that, my cost of goods sold are going to be this, my gross profit should be here. Here's my overhead, but as you start to try to like back into, okay, now how am I going to hit those sales goals? How am I going to deliver on those projects? Well, can I do that with me? Probably maybe one job at a time, but like as you need to start taking on more jobs, you're going to start to find that like in order to hit those goals, you're going to need more people. But luckily, when you budget, you can plan for when you're going to hire and add those people into your budget. And so I think a lot of people are really scared about hiring employees because they know at the end of the day, like they got to be able to make payroll, every week or every other week, kind of how, whatever your cycle is like. And so when you have a financial plan to rely back on, that will help give you the confidence and help you know what you need to do to make sure that you're hitting those goals. And then, once you've sort of flushed that out, like having very clearly defined roles and responsibilities for what those people are. And again, a lot of times entrepreneurs are like, well, I don't know. Should I hire a salesperson or a project manager first? And I always put it back on them and say, well, what are you most passionate about? What do you want to focus on? Where do you believe your strengths lie? And I have found that people almost always gravitate either to the sales side, the business, kind of that side of the house, or to the operations, the project management, the construction, side of it. And so figure out, again, if you got to pick one and then hire for the other. Like find out, find the person, find that role that you need to fill so that you can keep doing, one half, and some people, maybe it's to bring on a partner. Again, like you don't have to go this alone, whether you bring on a partner or just a key employee. Make sure that what are you going to do and what are they going to do, and continually refer back to your plan to make sure that you're hitting your goals. Eventually you'll start looking at adding more and more people. And I think that's when it's really important, though, that you turn and you start focusing on culture. You have to build a great culture. If you can attract the right talent to your team, that's great. But keeping them is equally important. And so, at the end of the day, like you got to figure out like, how can you make this a great place to work? You want to incentivize people, and again, like money is not everything. What I've learned is that at the end of the day, as much as you think your customer price is the number one factor, there are so many other factors in why they will choose you as their contractor. Same thing for your employees. Yeah, sure, you should pay them great and make sure that they don't have financial stresses. But at the end of the day, there's so much more that you can do to create a healthy and thriving place to work. For us, we do weekly team lunches. We actually now bring in lunch on Mondays. We don't have like a team meeting, but on Wednesdays, every Wednesday is our team lunch day. And we bring in, again, catered lunch. We spend an hour and a half where the entire team comes together, and it's extremely transparent. Every single area of the business, they go through their wins, their challenges, what they're working on. We share as a group, and having this like open and honest and transparent, environment, it makes other people realize, oh yeah, I'm glad that person's in sales, and that person is a great, over in customer success. Like, they appreciate each other and what they're doing because they see what's going on. They feel part of the company. And I think like doing things like that, like and even celebrating your wins, even your small wins. Like we do happy hours, we do breakfast tacos. Like when we hit our goals, whatever they may be, like we take the time to celebrate. And we try to, also have bigger celebrations when we hit large milestones, involve people's families. It's so much easier when they have that support at home from their partner, their spouse, like, involve them. Make everybody excited about what you're doing. And that's going to make it that much easier, and more exciting for them to come in and want to live out your mission and make your vision become a reality. And at the end of the day, though, like, I mean, your people are everything. They're absolutely everything. And I could probably go on all day about how important it is to find the right people. But I'll sum it up with Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. He says, you have to find, you have to get the right people on the bus, the right people in the right seats, and sometimes the wrong people off the bus. And then you figure out where and how to drive it together. And it's so, so true.
In addition to hiring the right people, there was a big piece in one of your talks about having the right processes in place too. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so again, like it's so important that like you train your people when they come on. If you just think that they're going to figure it all out, and again, I hear this all the time, the business owner's got it all up in his head and just thinks that somehow these new people are going to learn by osmosis or whatever. Like that's not the case. Like you have to very clearly define your standard operating procedures. That's why at JobTread, like we have our playbook. Like this is how we operate. And then you have to make sure that each person has the right tools at their disposal to be effective, be productive. Like if they're sitting there waiting on some software or on something to load, then, they're wasting time. I mean, it's like if you get out, in the field and you're sitting on the tractor, but the tractor takes an hour to turn on, well, you just totally wasted your time. Like that's demotivating. Like you need your people to have the right tools, the right systems and processes so that they know what they need to do. if they're spinning their wheels and they're trying to, figure out what to do every day, then they can't possibly be productive and efficient. And so that's where, for me, what really helped is again, I shadowed everyone. I did ride-alongs with the project managers, a day in the life. Like, I wanted to see and understand where they were getting, bottlenecked, and where the processes were breaking down. And so, I think it's so important that, again, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, like, you got to take the time to really figure out, what do your people need to be successful, and make sure that they have it. As the CEO, like, my number, number one or two or whatever number job this is like, I got to remove all the blockades in front of my team so that they can get out there and they can thrive.
One thing that I think you and Skimmer, a key part of our messaging is that we help to drive efficiency. But how do you quantify efficiency? Like, how do you know when you're doing it right?
Yeah, I mean, there's I'm a big believer in, if you're not, one, if you haven't set goals, then you're never going to hit those goals because they don't exist. I think it's very important that you set goals, and what are your KPIs, your key performance indicators, like, what are the important, levers that you can pull and that you need to make sure, you are hitting. And so, again, this could be, it could be, number of calls we're making, number of, customers that are signing up, number of, kind of projects being completed, number of, the dollars in sales. They could be, profit dollars. They could be, a lot of various different things. But, like, once you figure out what those KPIs are, you start tracking them. That's the number one thing that you have to do. You have to know what it is that you need to track, and then figure out ways to quantify that. Once you can quantify that, then you can start, here's the benchmark. Last month we did X. This month, in our plan, we needed to do, X times 2, or whatever it may be. And you can start to really understand how you're performing. And then you can start looking at ways that, okay, well, we missed our goal this month. Well, why? What can we do better? Where did we spend more time trying to do something that we could, cut down on that time? Is there a new tool that we could implement? Is there a software? Is there a different process? Are we thinking about this in the wrong ways? Like, I think, again, when you're able to quantify and track that, and here at JobTread at our office, like, we have dashboards everywhere, all over the walls. Every single department has, their KPIs. They know the metrics that they need to focus on. And again, like, when you put those front and center, and it's just like the whole team sees it. It is just full transparency. Like, that is those are the things that people are going to focus on. And that's how you make sure that everyone's focused on doing those things. And believe me, they're going to want just as much as you're going to want them to hit those goals, because everyone can see it. And so they will often bring to you, hey, like, I keep trying to do this and it's just not working. And that's when it's like, oh, great. Well, let's kind of dig into that. What can we do differently? What do you need? Something? Do you need a different tool? You need a different process? Do you, are you the wrong person for this role? Like, what is it? And that's how you make sure that your people are as productive as possible.
One thing that stood out along the people lines was you made an emphasis in one of your talks about building a culture where there's transparency. I think there are a lot of businesses out there where, they're very hierarchical. You got to go up, especially if they get larger, right? It's just kind of the nature of business. But you've been able to grow a company where transparency is a key piece of your culture. Can you tell us a little bit about the transparency and how you approach that in your organization?
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and I've in all of my companies, I've always wanted to keep them as flat as possible. My internship, I guess the only real experience, like back when I was in college, however many years ago that was, I went and I worked at a very large bank, and I was just a number. I was just this one guy who was a number, and I had no idea what anybody else was doing, what the bigger picture was. Like, luckily they weren't sending me to go, pick up donuts every morning, but like, that's what some of the others were doing. I was just like, wow, like, I do not want to be a number. I want to make an impact. I want a meaningful role. And so, I'm a big believer in keeping the organization as flat as possible, because that's what I found is that, for everyone to stay on the same page and to understand where we're at, like, everyone just needs to have visibility into everything. If you're having, all these hierarchies and all these people where it's like, you got to go talk to this boss, and that boss can go talk to this other boss. And like, I think that's just bureaucratic, like BS. Like, I want everybody in the entire company to feel comfortable coming in and talking to me about anything. Open door. Like, I want my sleeves rolled up, and I want to be right there in the trenches, right next to everyone else. There's nothing that I would ask anyone else on the team to do that I haven't done myself, or I would, greatly do myself if I had, the bandwidth and the ability, and I just think that, like, that's how you earn the respect of your team, is that when again, you got all these companies where you got the corner office and they're just kicking back and like, they're not grinding it. Like, I'm probably, one of the hardest workers here. I put in just as many, probably way more hours than other people. And that's like, that again, that sets the tone. It's so important that, like, people understand that we're all here, we're all on the same page, we're all striving for the greater, vision and mission of the company. And when people see what everyone else is doing, that's where these team lunches are so beneficial. This is where these dashboards all over the walls are so beneficial. It's because we as a team understand where we're at, and we want to help other people and other teams and other departments to hit their goals too. And I think also one of the other things that, like, I didn't mention earlier, but like, back to the whole, like, how do we incentivize and motivate, like, recognition. Like, people want to be recognized for their hard work. You, like, show your people appreciation. We have a who's kicking ass box that throughout the week people can drop in a note, just, anonymous, about whoever, something they saw that where they went above and beyond, or they did something exceptional. And at the very beginning of every team lunch, the first one I pull, they get either a Starbucks or Chipotle gift card, but I read out every single one of those. And we're recognizing our team members for their contributions. Like, we're helping, again, just kind of make people feel excited and want to go above and beyond. And it makes the biggest difference in the world when people know that their efforts are seen and appreciated.
Yes, appreciation is huge. And we're starting to see that you can tell the companies that we deal with that have larger teams that have figured this out. They tend to not have as high turnover. They tend to pay their techs really well.
No.
They seem to have, a really well-oiled machines. There's always, in any company, there's always a risk that you're going to lose someone. But, I'm a firm believer that if your people are feeling seen and appreciated, and if they're not, financially struggling, they're probably not going to leave, right?
Yep.
So let's see. One last quote that you gave, or question. You said, "Are you running your business, or is your business running you?" I think we have a lot of people that are Skimmer customers that are struggling, especially a lot of the people with really small operations, especially during the summer, where, there's so much to do, quotes that need to be sent out, repairs that need to be scheduled, all of these things that need to happen. What tips would you give to someone to get them from having the business running them to running their business?
Yeah, I mean, like, if anyone out there feels like they're just, like, every day they're just digging themselves deeper and deeper, and they're just trying to figure out how to survive, and like, you go down these paths where, like, you struggle to see the forest from the trees when you're in the thick of it. And I think the number one thing, like, if you feel like you're starting to burn out, if you feel like you're just, like, stuck in this rut, like, you need to take a step back. You need to take a step back and take a little bit of time and figure out, like, okay, let's reset. Like, you are not alone. Being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You have to understand that this is a journey. In the life of an entrepreneur, you're on a roller coaster. There will be ups and there will be downs. And when you learn to appreciate the hardest moments, those downs, those lowest points, when you learn to just embrace them, appreciate them, create a to-do list, just figure out what do you need to do to work yourself out of that, it's going to make you appreciate those highs even more. It's going to just be that much better. And so, I encourage people to really be able to take a step back and think about, what can we do differently? Like so many times people think, well, I've been doing this for the last, 40 years and it's worked thus far, but, I'm still, don't feel like I'm financially where I want to be. And I'm not that happy and I'm grinding and just, burning the midnight oil. Like that's not the right way. Like you need to be open-minded and invest in yourself, invest in your team, take the time to explore. Are there, ways that you can operate more efficiently? Is there technology out there that can help you work smarter and not harder? Like you have to be open to change, be willing to adapt, and like we have a big saying here, like, may the best idea always win. Turn to your team, be open, transparent, honest. Tell them, here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I'm worried about. See if they have ideas. It's so interesting how people see things from different perspectives. And when you can, like, again, just open up, like the situation that you're dealing with probably is not as dire as you may feel. Your anxiety may make you feel like it's a worse situation and you have been blinded because you're so anxious and you're so in it. Ask other people who are looking in from the outside or have a different perspective. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, there are so many coaching groups out there. There's so many networking groups out there where you can meet other people who are in the same situation, same boat. They're going through the same things, or maybe they've already gone through that and they've come out on the other side. Like, you can learn from their experience. And that's where, like, I think it's just so important that, like, people can take that step back for a minute and just try to reset their mindset. Like, just remember, like, if this was easy, everybody would do it. You can get through this. It's going to be hard work, yes, but the rewards are there. When you can build a successful business, you will be able to step back at times. You will be able to go on those vacations. You will be able to take time off. You will be able to spend time with your family. But you got to get to that point, and just the sooner that you can build the right team and you can make sure that you have the right tools, the right technology, the right processes in place, you're going to get there. But it does take time. And I encourage people, if you're feeling that you're reaching that burnout point, like, don't keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. That is the definition of insanity. Don't do that. Make a change, and make a change today.
And shameless plug on that note, if you do want to make a change, how can people find JobTread?
Yeah, I mean, if you are a construction, builder, if you are building pools, if you want to, again, try to work smarter, not harder, we would love to show you how JobTread can help you. And you can just go to our website, JobTread.com. There's a who we serve section. You'll find pool builders right there. We would love to schedule a demo with you. We'll take the time to walk you through it, make sure it'll be a good fit, make sure you understand how the software can benefit you. And, we also, there's a ton of videos on our YouTube. Feel free to, watch all of those. If you want to sign up and just jump right in, you can do that too. Every single customer gets assigned a dedicated customer success manager. Our entire customer success team has construction experience. Like, we understand what you're going through. We have been in your shoes, and we are here to help you. We have helped thousands of businesses implement our software. And again, it's all included. There's no extra cost for the training, the service. Like, tap into our team and let them hopefully help you skip over a couple of those hard knocks, those hard lessons that people have learned. Like, we can help get you set up for success. And that's what we're passionate about doing. Like, we are in this to help people build more successful, more scalable, more profitable businesses. And we'd love to help anyone out there that thinks that we might be able to help them.
Thank you so much, Eric, for your time. It's so great to have you as one of our inaugural guests here on Between Two Stops, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Nikki, and thanks for everything that you all do as well.
Awesome. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Between Two Stops is brought to you by Skimmer. Save time, grow revenue, and deliver a seamless customer experience with Skimmer's all-in-one pool service management platform. Get started risk-free at getskimmer.com.